If you lead a team today, there is a good chance you end your week looking exactly like this: exhausted, overwhelmed, and feeling like the weight of the entire operation rests entirely on your shoulders. And looking at the data, you aren't alone. This animated chart shows a massive spike where 56% of corporate leaders are currently reporting severe burnout, while this flat, stagnant line shows that team capability and innovation aren't improving at all. 43% of organizations are actually losing at least half of their leadership teams. But here is the paradox. You aren't burning out because you lack dedication. You are burning out because your specific method of caring for your team is structurally flawed. The very behaviors you've been taught to use to show you're a supportive boss are actively driving your own exhaustion and slowly eroding your team's ability to function. Management consultant Wesley Paterson breaks down exactly why this happens in his book, The Hero's Rope: Stop Carrying People Across the River and Start Teaching Them to Cross Themselves. His core thesis dismantles the toxic, crisis-driven hero culture running rampant in modern business. You probably believe that constantly swooping in to save the day, fixing a broken presentation, or smoothing over a client crisis proves you're a strong leader. But in reality, it just makes you the ultimate operational bottleneck. Every time you rescue your team, you're running a subconscious protection racket. You are shielding your employees from the friction and struggle they actually need to develop competence. To build an anti-fragile team, you have to systematically dismantle 5 specific hero leadership traps and replace them with systems that build independent capability. Let's walk through them. We start with the trap of effort, the time thief. This is the illusion that working 80-hour weeks and being available 24/7 models dedication and protects your team from stress. The reality is that your constant overworking sets an unsustainable standard and actively steals the team's opportunity to learn how to manage their own boundaries and workloads. The replacement strategy here is what Paterson calls professional selfishness. It requires setting hard boundaries, putting your own oxygen mask on first, and strictly stopping your work after hours. The trade-off is uncomfortable. You have to endure short-term operational chaos and the guilt of clocking out to force your team to carry their own weight. Next is the trap of speed, the word completer. When you finish team members' sentences to speed up meetings, you create the illusion of efficiency. The fix is strategic patience. This means implementing the 10-second rule, embracing silence after someone speaks so they complete their thoughts. The trade-off is accepting slower meetings today to multiply your team's independent critical thinking over time. Whenever you optimize for short-term conversational or operational speed, you actively destroy your team's long-term intellectual capacity. Let's look at the emotional side, starting with trap 3, the shoulder provider. This is the false belief that constantly absorbing your team's stress and emotional venting builds psychological safety. The replacement strategy is emotional development. Instead of immediately offering a comforting shoulder, you ask them, what would handling this challenge independently look like? The trade-off requires you to risk being perceived as cold or mean in the short term, in exchange for curing your team's emotional fragility in the long term. Then there's trap 4, the rescue radar. This is the illusion that monitoring the office and fixing problems before your team even asks for help is the mark of a proactive leader. Instead, you need to practice loving non-intervention, literally stopping yourself from stepping in and mandating that you only offer help when it is explicitly requested. To make this work, you have to sit with the extreme, painful discomfort of watching people struggle and even fail on a micro level so they can build macro-level problem-solving muscles. Confusing codependence with caring creates learned helplessness. When you eliminate all friction, you are effectively crippling your team with kindness. Finally, we reach the ultimate ego trap, the indispensability complex. This is the comforting illusion that being the sole crisis solver makes you highly valuable to the company. Looking at this network diagram, you see the severe organizational risk. When all decisions bottleneck into one person, you've created a single point of failure. The replacement is magnificent replaceability. You must aggressively document systems and give away your highest level authorities. The trade-off means permanently giving up the ego validation of being the savior to build an anti-fragile organization that can actually scale. True leadership value isn't measured by how much the organization needs you. It's measured by how well the organization functions when you aren't there. The core truth of the Hero's Rope framework is that true compassion means holding people accountable to their potential, not keeping them comfortable in their current performance level. Breaking these habits depends entirely on your specific leadership personality. This flow chart maps the two main profiles, the action-oriented leaders and the empathy-oriented leaders. If you are a high-speed, action-oriented optimizer, you are most susceptible to the time thief and word completer traps. You have to accept slower processes and messy communication today to achieve faster, independent scaling tomorrow. If you are an empathy-oriented people-pleaser, you default to the shoulder provider and rescue radar traps. You must accept being liked less in the short term so your team can grow stronger and more resilient in the long run. Generic leadership advice fails because it ignores these specific, personality-driven friction points. Real change requires targeting the exact behaviors you use to comfort yourself. Across all these traps, the central trade-off remains exactly the same. You must trade your short-term speed and your own ego validation for short-term friction and deep interpersonal discomfort. But the return on that difficult exchange is everything. You transition from being an exhausted, indispensable bottleneck into the architect of a highly resilient team. True leadership is providing the heavy rope, the tools, and the training so your team can cross the turbulent river themselves, rather than carrying them across on your back. It is time to stop evaluating your daily success by the number of fires you personally extinguish. Start measuring your leadership success by one metric alone: how efficiently and effectively the system functions when you are not in the room.